All right, so this is going to be a little bit of a different video, but a personal project, interesting one. So what this is an extension that I made for VS Code. So just as a little history, because if you're seeing this just through my YouTube channel, if you're seeing this, or if you're seeing this just through my YouTube channel, you probably don't know what I'm going to talk about. But if you're seeing this through my website about vnds, you almost definitely do know. So little history. vnds is basically a homebrew, so a fan-made program for the Nintendo DS, made all the way back in the late 2000s to early 2010s, and it's from playing visual novels on the Nintendo DS. So if you don't know, they're basically story-based video games that typically follow a very simple format where you have a background and you have character sprites on top of that, and they're not really animated, but there's different sprites for different emotions, and sometimes they'll be animated, but not in the way of they're not talking with their mouths aren't moving, but maybe they're happy, the sprite will bounce up, just as an example. So yeah, this is a homebrew program that plays uh, those games, and this is an extension for that, because at this point in time it's kind of so obscure that people aren't really doing anything with it, but I find it really interesting, and I ported a novel uh, to it, which I'll make a video on that at some point. And it was kind of a pain to do without syntax. And I made this before I started that, but I completely forgot about it. And then I started my website, and then I was like, oh, I remember this. Maybe I can finish it up. And it was basically almost done. So I finished it up. No, published it, which I won't get into the actual process of publishing, because if you don't care about that, there's no point in me going over it. And if you do care about it, that this isn't really the time or place. There are other videos for that. So just wanted to start on this page, but I'm going to go into the source code, which is linked in the description, and it's also linked like in the extension page as well. So just starting off, I'm gonna go here, so package. So this is basically just the information on the extension. So see, you have the name, the display name, the publisher, the description, the version, all that stuff. Didn't really do too much in here. Kind of the important part is that see this, or let I think it's this. No, it's here, extension. So it only applies to .scr files, which is screensaver file or are screensaver files, but that's just what vnds uses, and it's actually in this case it's a good thing, because they basically act like text files, but they're .scr. So since they're screensavers, uh, nobody else is going to use them, and so this can only apply to those files and not really mess anything else up. So here is where you can see the extensions enabled because it's highlighting the name for these. But this is where basically we use, see it match, basically use a regex to match words. So here are kind of the image and sound words, and then delay is just pause basically, but it kind of fit into this category a little bit. Then we have your sound, or not your sound, goodness, your external characters, like your operators, and basically one character characters. And I actually do have to change this at some point, because you see the double equals, which works how you expect, programming wise. Um, So it checks for the first instance of one of these in a text line, because, for example, if you do the word text, which is a keyword, followed by a space and an exclamation mark, that's not going to print out the exclamation mark. That's a special line. So I account for that because that's a special line, but because of the way I accounted for it, double equals, which would just print out double equals, also falls into that category. So I have to do that, make that slight change. I'm not too worried about that because that's a very specific case. How many times are you going to start a sentence with two double equal signs? But that's just something I want to keep in mind. That's not like huge deal, but something. Basically, I'm gonna update it. Just I don't know when. But anyway, here's their no control or not thinking of the word off the top of my head, but choice if your your optional keywords. I guess that's definitely not the correct way to call them, but optional keywords, which is choice, if, fi, and selected, which I'll show all these working in an actual example in a second. But then your variable stuff, so random, which makes a random number, and then your set var, g set var, which are used to store or create variables. Then of course jump, label, go to, these are your, you can jump, no, you can go to a label, you can jump to a different file. Then text, so that's just text and clear text. And then these are basically color codes for these colors, so I made it so that they actually look like the colors. So see, this is red. Once again, you'll see it in the file in a second. But this is red, this is green. So I decided that it would be nice to see in the code a way to see in the code what color it's going to show up as instead of having to run it. So then here is the theme JSON file, which just sets the colors for those. Not really much talking about there. And then here I will show it so you can see the themes enabled. I mean, leave that in. So here, see everything's highlighted. See the dollar signs, the equals, all of that. So all the keywords. I guess the only thing that's technically not highlighted is the numbers after variable. So set image. This is the image, which I feel doesn't need to be highlighted because that's just the file path. But that's a preference, is what I'm saying. And then there's these, which is the position. So 0, 0, the origin. So I think it's top left is 0, 0 in this. So uh, these are something that maybe I want to highlight as well. So this is done, this is published, but I guess in a version 2.0 or one, right now it's 1.0.1 because didn't have the little image here in the first version. So in 1.0.2, I would probably have it. So first of all, fix this. See how that should basically act like a normal text, like here, like where it says text up here, just ignore the dollar sign. So if I just say word, it should basically look like normal text. And then also, like I mentioned, with the sound, which this is, see, it's -1, so that basically just loops it infinitely. And then the location, which I should probably change as well, but that's in a version 1.0.2, as I mentioned, and I'm not too, like, this isn't a state that I'm happy with, so I'm not, like, ready to, like, jump onto that is what I'm trying to get at here. But yeah, I just wanted to go over this because I'm kind of proud of it. It's just something basically that I made to help myself, and then I was like, oh, this could help other people, and I uploaded it to the extension marketplace. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it on this one. And maybe there's one or two people out there that it can help. Like I said, it's mostly for me, but yeah, I'll see you next time.